My son sent me homemade cookies for my 63rd birthday after 3 years of silence. I gave them to his daughter instead of eating them myself. Best decision I ever made. I sat on my back porch, watching the October leaves drift across my empty yard. 63 years old today, and the silence felt heavier than usual. The house behind me was too big for one person, but selling it would mean admitting that my family was never coming back. 3 years. 3 years since I'd spoken to my son Raymond. The fight had been about money, like most family fights that end relationships. My late wife Catherine had left a substantial inheritance: the house, her jewelry collection, and a trust fund worth nearly $500,000. She'd specified in her will that everything should go to me, with the understanding that I'd pass it to Raymond when the time was right. Raymond had other ideas. "I need it now, Dad. The restaurant isn't going to wait for you to die." Raymond had always been ambitious, always reaching for something just beyond his grasp. At 32, he'd burned through 2 failed businesses and a marriage, leaving behind debts and bitter partners. The restaurant was supposed to be his redemption, an upscale farm-to-table place in downtown Portland that would finally prove his worth. "Your mother wanted me to use my judgment about timing," I had said carefully. "Maybe we should wait until you've got a solid business plan." A solid business plan? Raymond had laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've been working on this for 2 years. I've got investors lined up, a location picked out, everything ready to go. All I need is the seed money Mom left me." "She left it to me, Raymond. With the understanding that that you'd what? Hoard it until you're dead? Keep me begging like some kind of charity case." The conversation had escalated from there. Raymond accusing me of being controlling, of never believing in his dreams. Me trying to explain that I wanted to help, but responsibly. Catherine had worried about Raymond's impulsiveness, his pattern of starting projects he couldn't finish. "You know what, Dad? Keep your money. Keep your judgments. Keep everything. I don't need anything from you." That was the last time we'd spoken. Raymond's restaurant had opened 6 months later. I had seen the reviews in the Portland paper. It had closed within a year. No word of what happened to the investors' money or where Raymond had gone next. My daughter-in-law Amanda had called once, early in the estrangement. She'd been pregnant then, carrying my first grandchild. She tried to play peacemaker, suggesting family counseling or a neutral meeting place. "He's too proud to call," she'd said. "But I know he misses you." I had waited for that call. Hoped for it through Raymond's daughter's birth, her first steps, her second birthday. But pride apparently was stronger than love. Now my doorbell was ringing. I walked through the quiet house, past Catherine's reading chair and the piano no one played anymore. Through the window I could see a delivery truck pulling away. On my doorstep sat a small package, carefully wrapped in brown paper with a blue ribbon. The handwriting on the label made my breath catch. Raymond had always written in precise block letters like an engineer or an architect. No flourishes, no wasted motion. I would have recognized it anywhere. Edward Brooks, the label read. Nothing else. No return address, no delivery confirmation. Just my name in my son's careful handwriting. I carried the package inside and set it on the kitchen table. My coffee had gone cold. I reheated it and sat down, studying the neat brown wrapping like it might contain answers to 3 years of questions. The paper felt expensive. The ribbon was real silk, not the synthetic stuff from discount stores. Whatever was inside, Raymond had taken time with the presentation. I pulled the ribbon free and peeled back the paper. Inside was a white bakery box, the kind used for special occasion cakes. The lid was secured with a small gold sticker that read, "Happy birthday, Dad. Let's try again. Raymond, let's try again." My throat tightened. This was what I'd been hoping for, praying for during those long nights when the house felt too quiet. My son reaching out, offering to rebuild what we'd broken. I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, were 24 cookies. They were beautiful, clearly homemade, each one decorated with intricate icing in different patterns. Flowers, geometric designs, even a few shaped like trees. The kind of detailed work that took hours. Raymond had never baked in his life. I remembered Catherine trying to teach him when he was young, but Raymond had no patience for measuring ingredients or waiting for timers. He wanted immediate results, instant gratification. But people changed. Maybe this was Raymond's way of showing he'd learned patience, attention to detail. Maybe the failed restaurant had taught him something about careful preparation. I picked up one of the cookies, a delicate blue flower with white petals. The icing was smooth, professional looking. I brought it toward my mouth, then stopped. Something felt wrong. Not with the cookie itself, but with the situation. Raymond sending homemade baked goods after 3 years of silence. Raymond, who'd never shown interest in cooking or crafts, suddenly creating elaborate decorated cookies. And the timing. Today was my birthday, but how did Raymond know? We hadn't spoken in 3 years. My birthday wasn't on social media. I barely used the internet beyond email and online banking. Someone had told Raymond it was my birthday. Someone who knew my address, my preferences, my vulnerabilities. I set the cookie back in the box and closed the lid. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe this was exactly what it appeared to be, a genuine attempt at reconciliation from a son who'd learned to express himself through careful, detailed work. But Catherine's voice echoed in my memory, "Trust your instincts, Eddie. When something feels off, there's usually a reason." I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. I hadn't called Amanda in over a year, but her number was still there. Amanda? It's Edward. Raymond's father. Edward. Her voice was warm, surprised. How are you? It's been so long. I'm well. I was wondering, is everything all right with Raymond? And little Emma? Pause. Emma's fine. She's 4 now, can you believe it? Raymond is, well, he's been going through some challenges lately. What kind of challenges? Another pause, longer this time. Financial mostly. And Amanda's voice dropped. Personal. We're separated right now. Have been for about 6 months. My chest tightened. I'm sorry to hear that. It's probably for the best. Raymond has been different since the restaurant failed. Angry all the time. Blaming everyone else for his problems. Amanda sighed. I've been worried about him, honestly. He's been talking a lot about fairness, about how people have wronged him. Has he mentioned me? Edward. Amanda's voice became careful. I probably shouldn't say this, but yes. He blames you for the restaurant failing. Says if you'd given him the money when he asked, none of this would have happened. I looked at the cookie box sitting on my table. Amanda, has Raymond learned to bake recently? Bake? Amanda laughed, but it sounded strained. Raymond can barely make toast. Why do you ask? Just curious. How's Emma doing with the separation? She misses her dad. Raymond doesn't see her much anymore. He says he needs time to get his life together. Amanda paused. Actually, he mentioned wanting to reconnect with family. Said he was thinking about reaching out to you. When did he say that? Last week sometime. He asked for your address. I hope that was okay. I thought maybe it was a good sign. I closed my eyes. Of course. That's fine. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen looking at the cookie box. Raymond was going through a divorce. Broke again. Angry at the world, particularly at his father who'd refused to enable another failed venture. And now, suddenly he wanted to reconnect. With homemade cookies he couldn't have made himself. I picked up the box and carried it to my car. The drive to Amanda's apartment took 20 minutes through streets I rarely traveled anymore. The neighborhood was modest but well-maintained, the kind of place where young families started out, hoping to move up as their circumstances improved. Amanda answered the door with flower in her hair and a surprised smile. Edward, what a wonderful surprise. Come in, come in. The apartment was small but cheerful, decorated with Emma's artwork and photos from happier times. I could hear cartoons playing in the living room. Emma, honey, come meet your grandfather. A small girl with Raymond's dark hair and Amanda's gentle eyes peeked around the corner. She regarded me with solemn curiosity. Hi, Emma. I'm your daddy's dad. Mama says you live in a big house. I do. Maybe you can come visit sometime. Emma smiled and returned to her cartoons. Amanda gestured me toward the kitchen table. I can't believe you're here. It's been too long. I know. I should have stayed in touch better. I set the cookie box on the table. Actually, I came because of these. Raymond sent them for my birthday. Amanda's eyebrows rose. Raymond sent you cookies? Homemade ones. Very elaborate. I opened the box, revealing the carefully decorated cookies. Amanda leaned forward, examining them. These are beautiful. But Edward. She looked up at me. Raymond didn't make these. I was starting to suspect that. He doesn't have the patience for this kind of detail. And honestly, he's been in a pretty dark place lately. I can't imagine him taking time to bake birthday cookies for anyone. I studied Amanda's face. What kind of dark place? Amanda glanced toward the living room, making sure Emma was occupied. He's been obsessed with the idea that everyone's against him. Says you ruined his life by not giving him the inheritance money. Says I ruined his life by divorcing him. Says the investors ruined his life by not understanding his vision. Has he been threatening anyone? Not directly. But he talks about getting even, about making people pay for what they've done to him. Amanda picked up one of the cookies, examining the intricate icing work. Where would he even get cookies like these? That's what I'm wondering. Emma appeared in the doorway. Mama, I'm hungry. Of course, sweetheart. Let me make you a snack. Amanda looked at the cookies. Actually, these came at perfect timing. Would you like to try one of Daddy's cookies, Emma? I felt my stomach clench. Actually, Amanda, maybe we should save those for later. What? They look delicious. Emma had already reached for one of the flower-shaped cookies. This one's pretty. Emma, wait. I started, but she'd already taken a bite. The taste must have been appealing because she immediately took another bite, then another. Within a few minutes, she'd finished the entire cookie. That was yummy. Can I have another one? Amanda smiled. One is enough for now, honey. Go wash your hands. As Emma skipped toward the bathroom, I felt a growing sense of unease. The cookies were beautiful, elaborate, expensive looking. But they'd appeared without explanation from a son who'd never shown interest in baking, who was angry and bitter and talking about getting even. Amanda, I think I should take these cookies and have them tested. Tested? For what? I'm not sure. But something feels wrong about this whole situation. Amanda was about to respond when Emma called from the bathroom. Mama, my tummy hurts. We found Emma sitting on the bathroom floor, pale and holding her stomach. I feel sick. It's probably just too much sugar, Amanda said, but her voice carried a note of concern. Let's get you some water. By the time we'd returned to the kitchen, Emma was visibly worse. She complained of nausea, then suddenly vomited into the sink. Her small body was shaking. I think we should go to the hospital, I said quietly. It's just an upset stomach. Emma vomited again, this time with blood. Amanda grabbed her keys. The emergency room at Mercy General was busy for a Tuesday afternoon. Emma lay on a pediatric bed, hooked to monitors and in 4-line. The vomiting had stopped, but she was weak and confused. Dr. Sarah Dixon, the attending physician, reviewed Emma's chart with a concerned expression. We're running a full toxicology panel, but I have to ask, is there any possibility Emma ingested something toxic? Cleaning products, medications, anything unusual? Amanda and I exchanged glances. She ate a homemade cookie about an hour before the symptoms started, Amanda said. What kind of cookie? Decorated sugar cookies. They were a gift. Dr. Dixon made a note. I'd like to test those cookies if you still have them. They're in my car, I said. I'll get them. When I returned with the cookie box, Dr. Dixon examined the remaining cookies carefully. These are very elaborate. Where did they come from? My son made them, I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. Does your son have access to any chemicals? Cleaning supplies, pesticides, anything that might be used in food preparation? I thought about Raymond's failed restaurant, his chemistry classes in college, his current desperate financial situation. Possibly. Dr. Dixon sealed the cookie box in an evidence bag. We'll have these tested immediately. In the meantime, we're treating Emma for possible poisoning. The good news is she only ate one cookie and we caught it early. As we waited for test results, I called the police. Detective Maria Santos arrived within an hour. She was younger than I had expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a direct manner. Mr. Brooks, I understand you suspect these cookies were intentionally poisoned? I don't want to believe it, but yes. What makes you think your son would want to harm you? I explained the estrangement, the failed restaurant, Raymond's recent financial and personal troubles. Detective Santos took careful notes. Has your son ever threatened you directly? Not in words. But according to his ex-wife, he's been talking about getting even with people who've wronged him. And you believe you're on that list? I looked through the window at Emma's pale face. I gave those cookies to her instead of eating them myself. If someone wanted to hurt me, they might not care about collateral damage, Detective Santos finished. We'll test the cookies and look into your son's recent activities. In the meantime, I'd recommend staying vigilant. The toxicology results came back 4 hours later. Dr. Dixon's face was grim as she delivered the news. The cookies contained aconitine, a powerful neurotoxin derived from the aconite plant, also known as monkshood or wolfsbane. It's extremely toxic. Even small amounts can be fatal. I felt the blood drain from my face. Fatal? Emma is lucky. She only ate one cookie and we were able to treat her quickly. With supportive care, she should recover completely. But if an adult had eaten multiple cookies, I understood. If I'd eaten the cookies as intended, I'd be dead. Detective Santos took the case seriously once the poison was confirmed. She arrived at my house the next morning with a search warrant and a forensics team. We're looking for any evidence that might connect your son to the aconitine poisoning, she explained. Phone records, emails, anything that might indicate planning or intent. I watched the team photograph my kitchen, dust for fingerprints on the cookie box, and bag everything as evidence. It felt surreal, my own home becoming a crime scene because my son had tried to kill me. Mr. Brooks, I need to ask you some difficult questions about your relationship with Raymond. We sat in my living room while the forensics team worked. Santos pulled out a digital recorder. Has Raymond ever exhibited violent behavior toward you or others? I thought back over the years. Not physical violence, but he's always had a temper. As a child, he'd break things when he didn't get his way. As an adult, he'd lash out verbally. Any incidents that particularly concerned you? When he was 16, our neighbor's dog kept barking at night. Raymond complained about it constantly. One morning we found the dog dead in our yard. The vet said it looked like poisoning, but we could never prove anything. Santos made a note. What happened after that? Raymond seemed satisfied. He said maybe now we'd get some peace and quiet. The neighbor moved away a few months later. Any other incidents involving animals or poisoning? I hesitated. In college, Raymond majored in chemistry for 2 years before switching to business. He was always interested in plants, especially toxic ones. He had books about poisonous plants, hemlock, oleander, things like that. Did that concern you at the time? Catherine thought it was just intellectual curiosity. Raymond was always drawn to dangerous things. Motorcycles, extreme sports, risky investments. She said the plant interest was just another example of that. But you weren't convinced? I looked out the window at my garden, where Catherine had grown flowers and herbs for 30 years. I caught him in the garden once when he was about 20. He was cutting something from the back corner where Catherine kept her ornamental plants. When I asked what he was doing, he said he was collecting samples for a botany class. Did you verify that? Catherine did. She called the college, but they said Raymond wasn't enrolled in any botany classes that semester. Santos leaned forward. What did you do with that information? Nothing. Catherine said boys his age did strange things sometimes, that it didn't necessarily mean anything serious. She was always making excuses for Raymond, trying to see the best in him. But you weren't comfortable with it. No. I started paying closer attention to what he was doing, where he was going. I found some of those plant samples dried and stored in his room. When I confronted him, he said he was conducting his own research. Research into what? He never said exactly. Just that he found the chemistry of natural toxins fascinating. Santos made more notes. Mr. Brooks, I'm going to be very direct with you. Based on what you're telling me, your son has a long history of interest in poisons, possible animal cruelty, and now demonstrable access to aconitine. Combined with his current financial desperation and resentment toward you, we have what looks like means, motive, and opportunity. I felt sick. What happens now? We get a warrant for his residence and bring him in for questioning. But I need to warn you, unless we find physical evidence linking him to the cookie preparation, this case will rely heavily on circumstantial evidence. Is that enough for a conviction? It depends on what else we find. His reaction when we question him, any additional evidence at his residence, his ability to explain away the coincidences. Santos stood up. In the meantime, I'd recommend staying somewhere else for a few days. If Raymond realizes his plan failed, he might try again. I spent that night at a hotel downtown, staring at the ceiling and trying to process what my life had become. My son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, taken to baseball games, supported through college, had tried to murder me with poisoned cookies. The next morning, Santos called with an update. We executed the search warrant at Raymond's apartment. He wasn't there, but we found some interesting things. What kind of things? Books on plant toxicology, including detailed information about aconitine extraction. A laptop with search history showing research into untraceable poisons. And in his kitchen, we found trace amounts of aconitine on his countertops and mixing bowls. I closed my eyes. So he did make the cookies. It looks that way. We also found something else, receipts from a high-end bakery in Portland. Looks like he bought decorated cookies similar to the ones you received, then probably replaced the filling or coating with his poison version. Where is he now? Unknown. His landlord says he cleared out 2 days ago. Left no forwarding address. I felt a chill. He knows you're looking for him. Probably. We've issued a BOLO alert and we're monitoring his known associates. But Mr. Brooks, I need you to be extremely careful. If Raymond realizes his original plan failed, he might try a more direct approach. That afternoon, I returned to my house to pack a bag for an extended hotel stay. As I was gathering clothes from my bedroom, I heard my phone ring downstairs. The caller ID showed Raymond's number. I stared at the phone, my heart racing. After 4 rings, it went to voicemail. A few minutes later, it rang again. Same number. This time I answered. Hello, Raymond. Dad. Raymond's voice was calm, almost casual. I heard you've been talking to the police. Where are you? That's not important. What's important is that you're making a very big mistake. I kept my voice steady. What kind of mistake? Accusing your own son of trying to hurt you. Do you have any idea how that makes me look? How it makes our family look? Raymond, Emma is in the hospital. Pause. I heard about that. Food poisoning, right? Very unfortunate. It wasn't food poisoning. It was aconitine poisoning. From the cookies you sent me. Another pause, longer this time. I don't know what you're talking about, Dad. I sent you birthday cookies as a peace offering. If someone got sick, that's terrible, but it has nothing to do with me. The police found aconitine residue in your apartment. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. The police can find whatever they want to find when they're looking to frame someone. You of all people should know that. Raymond, just turn yourself in. We can work this out. Work it out? Like we worked out the inheritance? Like we worked out the restaurant funding? Raymond's voice turned sharp. You've never wanted to work anything out, Dad. You've only ever wanted control. That's not true. Isn't it? You controlled Mom's money. You controlled my opportunities. Now you're trying to control the narrative by painting me as some kind of monster. I heard something in the background, traffic maybe, or voices. Raymond was calling from somewhere public. Raymond, where are you? Let's meet somewhere and talk about this face to face. Oh, we'll see each other again, Dad. But it'll be on my terms this time. The line went dead. I immediately called Detective Santos. He just contacted me. Sounded like he was somewhere public, maybe a restaurant or shopping center. What did he say? He denied everything, but there was something threatening in his tone. He said we'd see each other again on his terms. Mr. Brooks, you need to leave your house immediately and go somewhere Raymond can't find you. I'm sending a patrol car to your location now. As I packed my suitcase, my hands shaking slightly, I couldn't stop thinking about the tone in Raymond's voice. Not just anger or desperation, but something colder. More calculating. My son wasn't done with me yet. 3 days later, Detective Santos called with news. We found Marcus. He's been staying at a motel outside the city under a false name. We're moving in tonight. I waited at the police station drinking bad coffee and watching the clock. At 11:30 p.m., Santos returned with Raymond in handcuffs. Even in custody, Raymond maintained his composure. He wore a clean shirt and had shaved recently. To anyone watching, he looked like a successful businessman who'd been inconvenienced by a clerical error. Mr. Brooks, would you be willing to speak with Marcus? Sometimes family members can get confessions that we can't. I nodded, though my stomach was churning. They put me in an observation room where I could watch Raymond being processed. My son sat calmly in the interrogation room, hands folded, expression neutral. When Santos began asking questions, Raymond requested a lawyer. I'd like to see my father, Raymond said. Alone. Santos looked at me through the one-way glass. I nodded. The interrogation room was small and sterile. Raymond looked up when I entered, and for a moment, his expression softened. Dad, you look tired. I wonder why. Raymond gestured to the chair across from him. Sit down. Let's finally have that conversation we should have had 3 years ago. I remained standing. What conversation is that? About fairness. About family. About what people owe each other. Raymond, Emma almost died. Emma's fine. I checked with the hospital this morning. Raymond's tone was matter-of-fact. She ate 1 cookie. I calculated the dosage carefully. I felt my blood freeze. You calculated the dosage? Raymond realized his mistake immediately. His jaw tightened. I meant hypothetically. If someone had poisoned those cookies, they would have calculated. No. You said you calculated the dosage. You knew exactly how much aconitine was in each cookie. You're putting words in my mouth. Raymond, why? Just tell me why. Raymond was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm but bitter. Do you know what it's like to have everything you've worked for destroyed because one person won't help you? To watch your dreams die because someone who claims to love you won't share what they'll never even use. The restaurant would have failed anyway. You know that. I don't know that. Neither do you. But we'll never find out, will we? Because you decided Mom's money was more important than my future. Your mother's money was supposed to be saved for emergencies, for your long-term security. My long-term security? Raymond laughed. Dad, I'm 32 years old. I'm divorced, broke, and living in a motel. How's that long-term security working out? I sat down across from my son. Raymond, poisoning me wouldn't have given you access to the money. I could have left it to charity, to Amanda, to anyone. Could have. But you didn't. Raymond leaned forward. I know, because I had a copy of your will made 6 months ago. How? You're not the only one with connections, Dad. Your lawyer's secretary was very helpful when I explained that I needed to verify something for estate planning purposes. I felt sick. You've been planning this for 6 months. Longer than that. But 6 months ago is when I found out that if you died, everything would come to me automatically. No conditions, no waiting, no judgment calls about my worthiness. So you decided to kill me? Raymond shrugged. I decided to solve a problem. You were standing between me and my inheritance. You were preventing me from rebuilding my life. The solution seemed obvious. And Emma? What was she? Collateral damage? For the first time, Raymond looked uncomfortable. That wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to eat the cookies yourself. But when I didn't, when an innocent 4-year-old got poisoned instead, that didn't make you reconsider? Emma's fine, Raymond said again. And frankly, maybe this taught Amanda a lesson about interfering in family business. I stared at my son. This wasn't grief or desperation talking. This was cold, calculated selfishness. Raymond, do you understand what you've done? You've tried to commit murder. You've poisoned a child. You've destroyed what was left of our family. I've taken control of a situation that you refused to address. Raymond leaned back in his chair. And honestly, Dad, I'm not sorry. You forced my hand. I forced your hand by trying to be responsible with your mother's money. You forced my hand by treating me like a child who couldn't be trusted with his own inheritance. I stood up. You just proved you can't be trusted. You tried to murder your own father for money. Raymond's expression hardened. Prove it. What? Prove I tried to murder you. You have cookies that contain poison. You have a sick child. You have a son who benefits from your death. But can you prove I made those cookies? Can you prove I intended to hurt anyone? I looked at Raymond's calm, confident face and realized my son had thought this through more carefully than anyone had imagined. The aconitine residue in your apartment. Could have been there for any number of reasons. I'm interested in botany. I've been known to collect plant samples. The bakery receipts. Prove I bought cookies. They don't prove I poisoned them. Your internet search history shows academic interest in plant toxicology. Not illegal. I felt a chill. You think you're going to get away with this? I think reasonable doubt is a beautiful thing. Raymond smiled. Even if they convict me, which I doubt, what's the worst that happens? A few years in prison? I'm broke and alone anyway. At least in prison, I'll have 3 meals a day and a roof over my head. And when you get out? Raymond's smile widened. Well, Dad, I'll still be your heir. Unless you change your will, which would look pretty suspicious after accusing me of trying to kill you. I realized I was looking at a stranger. The son I'd raised, the boy I'd loved, was gone. In his place sat a calculating predator who viewed murder as a practical solution to financial problems. There's one thing you didn't count on, I said quietly. What's that? I pulled a small recording device from my pocket. I've been recording this conversation. Raymond's confident expression faltered. That's not admissible. You didn't inform me? Actually, in Oregon, only one party needs to consent to recording a conversation. I consented. I stood up and walked to the door. You just confessed to attempted murder, Raymond? With calculation and premeditation. As I left the interrogation room, I could hear Raymond shouting behind me, demanding his lawyer, claiming entrapment. But it was too late. Detective Santos was waiting outside with a satisfied expression. We got it all. Confession, motive, and methodology. The DA says that recording, combined with the physical evidence, is more than enough for a conviction. I felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. What happens now? Now Raymond goes to trial for attempted murder. With his confession, I'd expect a plea deal. Probably 15 to 20 years. And Emma? Emma's fine. Dr. Dixon says she'll make a full recovery. Amanda's thinking about moving closer to you, actually. She says Emma should know her grandfather. I nodded, though the future felt uncertain. My son was going to prison. My family was shattered. But somehow we'd have to find a way forward. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Raymond's lawyer tried to claim the confession was coerced, that the recording was illegal, that the physical evidence was circumstantial. None of it worked. The jury took 3 hours to find Raymond guilty of attempted murder in the first degree. During sentencing, the judge was direct. Raymond, you planned and executed an attempt to murder your own father using a sophisticated poison delivery system. When that plan failed, you showed no remorse for poisoning an innocent child. This court sentences you to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole for 15 years. Marcus showed no emotion as he was led away in shackles. I attended every day of the trial, sitting in the front row where Raymond could see me. I wanted my son to understand that actions had consequences, that family loyalty was a two-way street. Amanda and Emma had moved to Portland to be closer to me. Emma, now fully recovered, called me Grandpa Ed and spent weekends at my house, filling the rooms with laughter for the first time in years. Do you think Raymond will ever understand what he did? Amanda asked one evening as we watched Emma play in Catherine's garden. I don't know, I said honestly. I hope prison gives him time to think about the choice he made. But understanding and changing are different things. Do you regret not giving him the inheritance money when he first asked? I considered the question. No. Raymond would have burned through that money in 6 months, then been right back where he started. The problem was never the money. The problem was Raymond thinking the world owed him something. 6 months after the trial, I received a letter from Raymond in prison. The handwriting was the same precise block letters, but the tone was different. Dad, it read. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I've been thinking about what happened. The prison has a psychology program, and I've been working with a counselor who specializes in family dynamics. I still think you were wrong about the money. But I also understand now that trying to poison you wasn't the answer. I was angry and desperate, and I made a terrible choice. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to figure out how I became someone who could hurt his own family. Maybe someday we can talk again. Not about money or inheritance, but about how we got so lost from each other. Raymond. I read the letter twice, then filed it away. Maybe someday we would talk again. Maybe Raymond would learn to take responsibility for his choices instead of blaming others for his problems. But trust, once broken so completely, might never be rebuilt. That evening, I sat on my porch with Emma, watching her color pictures of flowers from Catherine's garden. My granddaughter was alive and healthy. My son was in prison where he couldn't hurt anyone else. Sometimes survival is its own form of justice. If you've ever had to question the motives of someone you love, if you've ever felt that something was wrong even when everything looked perfect on the surface, trust those instincts. They might save your life. I saved one cookie from that box, not out of sentiment but as evidence of how close I came to dying. It sits in my safe now, a reminder that sometimes the people who claim to love us most are the ones we need to be most careful around. Emma doesn't remember much about being sick that day. To her, it's just a story about the time she ate too many sweets and had to go to the hospital. I hope she never has to understand the full truth about what her father tried to do. As for Raymond, he's serving his time at the Oregon State Correctional Institution. I haven't visited him, though I've considered it. Part of me wants to understand how we got here, how a father and son could end up on opposite sides of an attempted murder case. But some questions don't have satisfying answers. Some relationships can't be repaired no matter how much we want them to be. What I've learned is that family isn't just about blood. It's about trust, respect, and putting each other's well-being above our own desires. Amanda and Emma have become my real family now, not because we share DNA but because we choose to care for each other without conditions. The inheritance money that Raymond wanted so desperately? I've set up a trust fund for Emma's education. She'll have access to it when she turns 25, but with safeguards to ensure it's used wisely. Maybe that's the real lesson here. Money doesn't create character. It only reveals what was already there. I still live in the same house, still drink my coffee on the back porch every morning. But now I have a reason to get up each day. Emma visits every weekend, filling the quiet rooms with her laughter and questions about everything from why leaves change color to why some people make bad choices. I try to answer her honestly, age-appropriately. When she's older, she'll learn about her father's crime. For now, she just knows that Daddy made some mistakes and has to live somewhere else for a while. Sometimes I wonder if I could have done something different, said something that might have changed Raymond's path. But I've learned that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can only protect yourself and the people who matter. The poison cookies taught me that survival often comes down to trusting your instincts, even when everyone else thinks you're being paranoid. That little voice that told me something was wrong saved my life and exposed a killer. Don't ignore that voice. It knows things your rational mind hasn't figured out yet. Have you ever received a gift that felt wrong somehow? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and personal safety? How do you know when someone's behavior has crossed the line from difficult to dangerous? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next chilling tale. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.